Riverhead yard. It's June 19th. It's Juneteenth Day. How about that? It's we got Jerry here. He's the caretaker or proprietor. Are there any other names you'd like me to call you?
Caretaker.
Okay, caretaker.
Sometimes know-it-all.
Okay. Well, he's going to give us a little tour of all the equipment that's in here, outside, inside, as much as we can. Right here, we got a former B&M. They call them American Flyer cars. Osgood Bradley cars, I think they used to call them, something like that. They're trying to restore it to B&M Minuteman Red. That would be they were mighty nice in the Minuteman Red. I've seen pictures of it. Okay, so Jerry's going to take us for a little tour inside this car and other cars here and take a look-see. All right, so what did you do? You stabilized this thing?
So this side over here, where these two pieces of sheet metal are, was the worst spot on the car.
Yeah.
All of that was rotted away because of the bathroom vent was sheared off and they never capped it 30 years ago. So what we're currently doing is we're putting we put up new horizontal beams and some new vertical beams, and now we're in the process of reskinning the car.
Okay.
And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side.
All those rectangular squares I see down there, right?
Yes, those are all new beams.
Wow, okay. When did you start working on this car?
We started last year when we got a grant from the NRHS.
Oh, okay, cool.
So
that helps.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, these were smooth riding cars. They were very, very smooth. I rode on a few of them. Steam heated, air conditioned. They had generators on underneath. But unfortunately, with those big windows, they were targets for rock throwers. But it's Long Island. What do you expect? You know, you redid the trap there, huh?
Yeah, I'll take this out for you.
All new metal. Oh yeah, it looks pretty good.
We mostly cleaned up the steps. I mean, they're dirty now because we use them. But up here, this and here are all new metal now.
Wow. Where'd you get the parts?
Tibbetts Steel has been helping us out.
Oh, great. Are they nearby?
Tibbetts Steel is located in Calverton on the old spur.
Oh, okay. One of those industries there. Okay, good. Here we are on the inside of the car.
So this car was retired in the 1970s from Long Island Railroad's commuter service.
Yeah.
And was converted into a sandite alcohol car.
Yeah, I remember, yeah.
And finally they retired it in the 1990s when they rebuilt some P-72s into that. And it was donated to Twin Forks in 2006, somewhere in there.
Oh, it's been here that long, huh?
Yep.
Wow.
So a couple of fun facts about the car. We still have the generator from when it was in sandite service. A lot of the heating grates are still there on the sides and the bottom. Also, the original AC system is still intact in the car.
I'll be doing. Did you ever notice the ones they have like this at Holborn Yard? They have the yellow paint on them?
Yes, I have. I do know about them. I've seen some photographs of them. They're a little rough too.
Oh, yeah. Rougher than this. Okay.
Oh yeah, this one is actually in the best condition. Another fun fact about this car is that this car is one of 3 Boston and Maine Osgood Bradley cars remaining, and this is the only one in preservation, and believe it or not, it's in the best condition.
Oh, well, they were built, I think, in the 1940s?
This one was mid-1930s.
That old, wow.
And these cars were used for long-distance passenger trains, such as the Minuteman and stuff like that.
Yeah, I remember, yeah.
This particular car was actually a coach, and when it was built, it had Hayward Wakefield seats. So unlike your traditional walkovers where you just move the back, you had to go under, move a pin, and the whole seat would rotate.
Oh, okay. I mean, not a flip over.
No.
Okay. Let's see. What do you got back here?
So this is the generator that was in service when the car was a sandite car. A lot of the stuff is stored still. The 2 stacks in the back are stacks off of our Missouri Pacific cabooses.
Naturally.
Yeah, of course. We plan to completely sandblast the 2 stacks and everything, but I'll get into that later.
Oh.
Eventually, we would like to get this generator out of the car and operational, but only time will tell when that happens.
All right. Yeah, there's those hinge doors back there. I can remember when I rode on these cars and people would try to slide them open. And they break their wrist trying to do it. So, because everything else that was running around had sliding doors on it. Even the P-54s did. So, you know, they see this and it's like a new deal in there. You know, I could hear the bones cracking, you know, when I was sitting in there, but you know, it's funny. All right. So, Jerry, what do we got here? I remember these. I don't remember the paint scheme, though, but I remember the orange.
So these two are N22B cabooses that were purchased by the Long Island Railroad in the early 1960s. This paint scheme was applied to these cabooses in the 1970s, and they basically wore this scheme for the rest of their career. They were finally retired in the 1990s, and they just sat in Holman for a few years.
Yeah.
Before being donated to Twin Forks in 2005, somewhere in there. Some work we've done to these cabooses includes, but it's not limited to, new paint scheme.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't look like this good a few years ago.
They look really good, yeah.
Thank you. We've been replacing windows. You can see on C64, the dimmed windows. Those are old M1 safety windows that we cut down to size and replaced. We eventually plan to replace all the windows on these two cabooses.
M1, you mean from the MU cars?
Yes.
Huh. Yeah, they definitely don't look like M1 windows.
Oh yeah, we cut them down to size. I kind of like them tinted.
No, they're good. I mean,
I think they look better tinted. That's just me.
Keeps the sunlight out, you know, stuff like that. Well, the M9s have, you can spot an M9 in the dark because it has sort of a bluish tint on
Yes.
them. So, and I kind of like it. It makes it look good. Plus the striping on the car makes it look good too. So, here's the inside of this baby.
So on the inside, some of the work we've done is we got the stove to work, but unfortunately the tank was leaking, so we had to take that down. We got to fix the leak in there. We got the water. We finally have water.
Ah, yes, plumbing. All right.
We plumbed both cabooses. We redid the electrical as well. The lights all work. Unfortunately, I don't have the generator turned on. We repainted the interior, as you can tell. So yeah, I mean, this is basically a completely operational caboose.
I bet you that stove kept crewmen warm in the winter.
Oh yeah. This stove is supposed to be really, really hot.
And it has a seat inside that was similar to what was on the Long Island Railroad coaches.
These seats actually came out of P-72, I think.
I remember them well. I remember I used to ride out onto Montauk on the early morning Montauk that left Jamaica at like 1 o'clock in the morning. And used to always have 2900s on them. This was like in the late 70s. And the crew would, when we get to Montauk, they had a 3-hour layover there. They'd rip the backs of the seats off, plop them down, they'd make a nice bed out of them. They used to sleep on them until it was time to go west, so.
So another thing I can show you is the bathroom.
Okay.
So one interesting fact about the bathroom, I'm just going to move this out of the way real quick.
Okay.
It's a direct drop.
Oh, the environmentalists would love that.
Oh yeah, that's for sure.
Well, you know, it was sort of like, reminds me of, remember when the Norfolk Southern was giving crews disposable bags?
And they throw them out the window and then they had to report the bags.
Plus, and there'd be fishermen underneath the bridges, they throw them out, splat, you know, it's like.
So another thing is, before we painted the interior, that's what it looked like inside the caboose. All rusted and crappy looking. And then we gave her a new paint job.
Literally crappy looking. Okay. That's so. Well, look at this nice little bed here.
So another thing we want to do soon is reattach the car track barcodes. In the 70s, a lot of railroad cars had their own barcode. Now, this is not the original barcode for the caboose, but I want to reattach it because it's historically accurate for the paint scheme at the time.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
I'm a rivet counter, so you know.
I remember those. You got a lot of railroad paraphernalia in here, books,
Oh, yeah.
videos, magazines.
Well, a lot of people come over, and they come over with their kids because their kids love trains and all that stuff. So I give out magazines, you know, and it makes the kids' day.
Yeah, I guess.
I hand them a handful.
Yeah.
You know, parents aren't always happy, but the kids are always thrilled to get some magazines.
You know, kids never outgrow trains. I mean, I'm 67. This kid still hasn't outgrown them yet, so whatever. I'm still running around New Jersey, Pennsylvania, so it's like, it's a great hobby for kids. First time in 30 years you can see out the window, huh? Yeah, it looks clear. What is this gizmo over here?
That is the
Looks like a brake. Looks like a brake.
It is. So basically, the conductor would sit in the seat there and watch ahead of the train. If he spotted any problems, that was his brake.
Huh? Wow.
Yep, that's connected to the air of the train.
Yeah.
And then you have the gauge up there, but we have to.
Didn't they have whistles when they were doing backup moves?
Yes, but they were not attached to the cabooses, so they were always portable.
Oh, okay. You have this baggage car here, which belongs to the Oyster Bay Museum.
Yes.
Okay.
Brought it out here for storage. Well, the railroad brought it out.
Oh, okay.
This thing was converted to a work car, and that's why it survived.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, at some point, it was donated to the Oyster Bay Railroad Museum.
Yeah.
They plan to fully restore it to baggage and mail capabilities, so that they have displays about it. You can actually see, apparently, I don't know how true this is, the green on the truck right there is the original green for the truck.
Oh, I didn't think they were painted that color.
I didn't think so either, but apparently they was. Other interesting facts include, but are not limited to, on the truck itself, it says pen.RR. And at some point they actually had barbed wire all over the windows. So I removed all of that. So the car is a little bit more pleasing to look at. Doesn't look like something that would go to a prison anymore.
Oh yeah. Probably had the mail hooks on it and everything. So.
Yep.
I remember these on number 4 and number 9. Those were that was the weekday turn to Montauk. Used to see it with used to go through Babylon about 9:15 in the morning. Used to stop at Mineola to get newspapers. They used to deliver mail and newspapers on number 4. So then it would come back west as number 9 around 4:15. It would leave Babylon. I'd see it go through Lindenhurst. So this brings back a lot of memories from those trains. Okay, right now he's going to show us the Pullman Standard P-72s. They have a couple of them. This is
56, and the other one is 2935.
Okay. These are, they used to belong, you can see the OBRM lettering on it. They belong to the Oyster Bay Railroad Museum, but they've recently worked out a deal to acquire them, or acquire them. And so now it's their property. And these cars are built in 1955. They were great riding cars. They had heating, lighting, air conditioning. The heating was steam heated, but they became electric heat with the generators. So, you know, explain a little more about these cars, Jerry.
Well, as you said, these cars were built in 1955, and then 2956 was actually built in 1956. The only reason why I remember that is because of the number.
Yeah.
They lasted in service up until 1998 when they were donated to the Oyster Bay Railroad Museum, and they were shipped all over the railroad, all over Nassau County and Queens, just to hide them from management. And finally, they ended up out here. And recently, like you said, Twin Forks has acquired them from Oyster Bay. We worked out a deal, and here they are. Here we are.
No, I shot video of these things making their last runs on the Port Jefferson branch in the late 90s. So,
I wonder if you got any of our cars.
They were like, they screeched to a halt. They had nice noisy brakes. I loved the sound of the generators, and they just rode really nice. They were very well liked by commuters. All right, so how anxious was the Long Island Railroad to get rid of these cars when they took them out of service?
I'd say I heard they were pretty anxious to get rid of them. These two in particular were retired in 1998 and donated to the Oyster Bay Railroad Museum. And throughout their time owned by the Railroad Museum, they were shipped all throughout Nassau and Queens to hide them from management, I've heard.
Huh.
So finally, they were sent out here, and they sat here for a little while, and We acquired them. Twin Forks acquired them in earlier this year.
Mm-hmm.
So now they're ours. We eventually plan to use them in excursion service, but only time will tell when that will be.
Okay. Well, did you know that there's a tourist railroad out in Indiana that has one of these painted in its original as delivered paint scheme?
Yeah, I've seen photos of it, and it's beautiful.
It has the original generators in them too. But what I could never understand is there's like on the side of the cars there was like a red circle with a number on it. I never could figure out what that number represented.
To my knowledge, I could be wrong. That was the number of the car delivered. So if it was, okay, let's say 2956 was the car number, but if it was, let's say, the 30th car to be delivered, it had 30.
Oh, I figured maybe that was it. But I just could never, it was always contrasted with the car body. It was just,
it stood out.
People were always asking, what is that? What is that? Well, okay, great.
No.
Remember I was telling you about the sliding doors? This is one of them. They had the sliding doors. Mostly the railroad had sliding doors except for the equipment they got from other railroads. Okay, yeah, oh yeah. I remember the inside with these reupholstered seats. So
we're in the process of cleaning it up. So when this car was stored all over the railroad, people got in, people did things to it. One of the biggest things was someone found a fire extinguisher and sprayed it. And it's not fun to take that stuff off.
no, you see the growth. Man. Yeah, the baggage racks look a little different. I noticed years ago they didn't run across the entire car, only just portions of it, which I could never figure out, so.
Yep.
But and there's the air conditioning vents, the light.
This is all lighting.
This is the light here, the vents are right.
Oh yeah, the AC, yeah.
But, oh yeah, I remember them. They looked a lot like the MP72's MUs, the 2500s, 2600s, 2800s. But there was one thing about these cars that you could tell apart from the rest. Where the bathroom was, there was a water fountain next to it. The other cars didn't have that. You could dispense water from a water fountain inside these cars. Yeah. Let's see. Go back here.
So you can see some of the seats are removed. We've been taking them out and cleaning them. They need it.
Yeah, I'm sure. The thing I remember about these cars is the generator underneath. The car would hum. It had a really distinct hum underneath it when you sat in it. It was like a little mini earthquake, but you kind of got the sense that it was a car not to be messed with. It meant business, and they did serve the railroad very well for. Well, these were the cars that came with the end of steam. They had the G5s at Hicksville with a ceremony that were using these cars with an RS3 at the other end.
These cars served for the railroad for almost 50 years.
Very well, I might add. They were awesome pieces of equipment. Where's the restroom in this car?
Oh, this is a even number car, so this one does not have restroom.
Oh, I thought they all had them.
Odd numbers have the restrooms.
Oh.
35 actually has a restroom, and it's pretty intact too.
Oh, okay. Pretty cool. All right, Jerry, what do we got here?
This is a George spreader. It was built for the Long Island Railroad in the early 1940s. It basically served the railroad up until the mid-80s, early 90s. It's finally donated to Twin Forks along with the two cabooses and another caboose that's in the Transit Museum in the early mid-2000s, and it's basically been here since. We want to return it to its dress black and eventually its original number 2.
Yeah, I think that thing would look terrific in black.
Oh yeah. So one funny thing about this thing is that when they retired it, there wasn't many big snow drifts out. This thing was mostly used for snow drifts east of here. And it was usually stored in, I think, Ronkonkoma and Spionk. Well, 1 year after they retired it, they sent a couple of GP38s out to Mattatuck in Greenport. Well, they got stuck. The two 38s got stuck, and they had to go to the local farm to call the railroad to tell them that they were stuck.
Oh, God.
Shortly after that, they bought the new one. They have Vader.
Oh. I didn't think EMDs could ever get stuck.
Well,
So EMD is not always superior to the elements, but good enough, I guess. Oh, boy. Go ahead.
so another thing we want to do to this thing is we want to eventually take those windows off up there. They're a wee bit big, and they're actually not original to the spreader.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they're not very good windows either.
Uh,
So we're going to take those down, and we're going to eventually rebuild the windows how they're supposed to be. Eventually.
okay. So there'd be some guy up there, an engineer with a plow foreman, telling them a pilot telling them when to retract the spreaders and this
Yep,
and that.
I think so, yeah.
Otherwise they'd knock down a few things.
Well, the other thing is, this thing could not control the engines. It did not have a
No,
control stand
no.
inside.
The engineer and the engine would control the operation, but they were the eyes pretty much up
Yep.
here. So, yeah. Good luck with that. It'll look great in black. It really will. Yeah, we're inside the plow now. Let's see. Oh, look at all these valves.
Oh yeah. This was how you controlled the wings.
Yeah, all of those valves for the one ring on each side. It's like,
Well, not only that, but you can raise and lower the front as well,
oh,
and then you could move the wings up and down.
you had to know your onions. You know the railroad really good to do this.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's why a pilot would be riding up here usually.
You can have the derails in case the thing, the re-railers in case the thing derails.
Oh, well, you got both of them.
Yep.
What is this piping here?
It's from an old banner, I think. I'm not 100% sure.
Mm-hmm.
That's way before I came to Switchforks.
And these pedals?
That was also to help control the flow of air.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. And I take this tank housed the air supply to operate everything in there.
Yep. That was it.
Okay. Yeah, we have some other equipment here that actually is sort of under a separate entity here. This baggage car. Houston is going to show us around this stuff. There he is.
Hello.
Houston 747.
Yep, that's my channel.
Train and aviation buff. Okay. Is this graffiti or an intentional paint scheme?
Well, it's definitely graffiti. This is for the 9/11 memorial.
Wow.
I don't have too much knowledge about that, but
Well,
this is what I was been
it's a
told.
P-72 like the other two, I can tell that.
Yeah.
Wow.
And over there, I have my own organization, which is the Long Island Norfolk Railroad Society. I'm the founder and the president.
Oh, okay.
And it's a railroad club.
Mm-hmm.
And we also have a fundraising committee. And we started it back in March 20th, 2021. So it's pretty new. And we have volunteers. We used to probably our very, very first work session started here.
Mm-hmm.
I call it the 95 Project. And we cleaned inside of these M1s.
When did you get these things?
The museum owns it. I'm not sure. I think it was there since 2009.
Oh, yeah.
And at this point, it's there.
Well, it's definitely a part of history.
Oh yeah,
So,
absolutely. This is the M1.
this is what led to the M9s.
Yeah.
The first totally new design. It looks like just a gigantic subway car. That's what it looks like.
Yeah. Basically, one of my volunteers, we started cleaning the seats and the floors and everything, and then we decided to, halt that because we have to work with them first with the P-72s and all that stuff. So that's for later. But at this point, we're working with Twin Forks.
Yeah.
At this point, so it's a very interesting car.
Yeah, absolutely. What's this tender? What'd you get? What is that off of? I forget which engine that was from. 35, 39?
From 39. Yeah.
Okay, is that the one?
museum used it.
Is that the one that Strasbourg is working on?
Yeah.
Oh, I would love to see that running around out here. But I think it'll probably, well, The only thing I hear about that engine is the whistle. They have it on one of their steam engines.
Yeah.
It's basically just like a Pennsylvania Railroad whistle. My father he heard it, and he said, yep, that's a Pennsy whistle, like I heard when I was a kid. There's the drivers. Oh, look at this.
Yeah. Back in the 90s, the whole engine was there. Now it's disappeared, or it's probably out.
Yeah, they had big drivers.
Yeah.
460. That's the back of it. And you can see the cylinder in the front. All right, talk about this engine. 1556, an RS3 built by Alco in the mid-50s, 55 I think.
Yeah.
So you're not going to be able to restore this thing, huh?
Well, we tried, my organization, we tried, and like I said, it didn't seem to work out because we have very few volunteers to do this, so maybe in the future, hopefully, but it's too early.
These are great little engines. They had 1600 horsepower, 244 engine. They could move. They could get up to good speed if you really needed them to. On the Scoot, they used to fly. I rode on P54s behind these on the Scoot, and when it was doing 50 miles an hour, it felt like it was doing 150 miles an hour on those cars. They bounced and rocked, and that's why they call them ping pong cars. But they had nice M3 horns, and I loved the sputtering of the exhaust. It was just a great little locomotive. It's one of my favorite Alco locomotives out there, no question about it. Well, this is some kind of a GE engine, I think.
Yeah, this is the jawbreaker.
I've seen pictures of it at Morris Park hustling locomotives around, so I think that's where it primarily worked.
It actually still works too.
Oh, I like the bell on it. Is that a GG1 bell? It looks like a GG1 bell. It looks like a big bell.
Probably, yeah.
Oh boy, yeah. Yeah, they sounded like Econoline vans when they ran. They just went, there wasn't, you would never confuse it with a General Electric Gevo, so, but they were good at moving lightweight stuff around, like locomotives and stuff. All right, we're further west of Riverhead, behind Parago Gas that's switched by the New York and Atlantic on occasion. So what do we got here, Jerry?
This is a Missouri Pacific Sedalia built caboose. This is a home-built caboose using an old boxcar frame built for the Missouri Pacific in the late 1940s or very early 1950s. There's actually two of them here. One of them was built in 1949. The other one was built in 1950.
Oh. Sedalia, you talking about Sedalia, Missouri?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, I know the MP went through there, so.
Yep, and they had a huge car shop there.
Oh.
So these two cabooses served the Missouri Pacific for years. In the mid to late 1960s, they were completely rebuilt on the inside with new features including radio and electric lighting.
Wow.
And stuff like that. They
High
received
tech.
an all plywood interior and all that kind of good stuff. Finally, in the late 70s, early 80s, the two were retired. They were sent over to National Tube Works, where they were gutted and basically used for storage. The National Tube Works in Keysport, Pennsylvania, liquidated. Fred Cowan bought them and was going to use them for displaying his products. The display never worked out. He just didn't have the heart to scrap them. So they sat for a little while, and finally a new owner of the land took over, and he was going to scrap them until we, Twin Forks, approached him like, hey, we want these three cars.
Yeah.
And now, here we are.
Wow.
Within the next few months, we plan to.
Oh, yeah, you were mentioning about that.
Yep.
Big deal with the trucks, yeah.
So this
Now, what is this? Did the crew drink vodka while they were working, or what? Looks like a hammer and sickle.
The FC is Fred Cowan's initials. It is not the Fulton County Railroad, as many people say. Now, we only put a single coat of paint on this caboose.
Yeah.
The reason why I didn't paint this section right there
Yeah.
was because you could actually see the outline of the Missouri Pacific Buzzsaw logo.
Oh, yeah, I can. Let's see. That's circle, yeah. With Missouri Pacific Railroad written on it. I think that's what they had on it.
Yes.
It was sort of like a sunburst, almost.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, the Missouri Pacific and this railroad that I love so much, both had something in common. They both had a blue paint scheme on their locomotives, but I think Missouri Pacific was bluer.
Yes.
Solid blue. Solid blue. And they ran all those Eagle passenger trains. What was some of them? The Aztec Eagle, the Missouri Eagle, Texas Eagle, which is what Amtrak calls their train today. So Mopac lives on, and it was absorbed by the UP in 1982.
MP, Missouri Pacific Lines.
Now, what is this? Where does that?
So you can actually see
yeah.
MPL. It's Missouri Pacific Lines.
Oh, yeah.
That's how old these trucks are.
Huh. No, it looks like a brand name for the trucks, but that's incredible. Well, they built it. I guess they could put their own brand on it. So
well, what this was back in those days, before you spray painted the railroad name on there, it was cast into the truck.
Yeah.
So if there was an accident or if the car needed to be repaired, you know which car that belonged to, because people would borrow each other's trucks and stuff like that.
Ah, right. Yeah, it's a nice looking caboose. Nice looking.
Hotel on wheels.
Yeah. Inside the caboose, the one with the hammer and sickle on it, and the guy's initials.
Yeah, she's a little rough, but luckily a lot of this is only plywood, so it's very easy to work with.
Yeah. Ah, a diamond in the rough.
Yeah, and that's exactly what she is.
Ah.
So another thing I like about this one is the graffiti. That is from the Missouri Pacific.
Who is Bob Tolman for the Missouri Pacific General Chairman?
Yeah, I forget exactly what he did on the railroad, but he ran for chairman, and unfortunately he lost.
Oh.
I've heard from stories that he's a very interesting character.
Is he still alive? Probably not.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think he passed.
Caboose number? Yeah. There's a lookout spot over here.
Yep. So these actually have walkover seats. This was one seat, and you literally just pulled it to face the other direction.
Oh.
Other features inside the caboose include, but are not limited to, the axle-driven generator. It's not, you can see it's still kind of sort of on the truck.
Yeah.
But this is where the alternator would have sat to power the caboose. You have your light right there.
Uh-huh.
And I hate that. And you also have, there's your circuit board for the caboose.
They have an outhouse in here?
Your toilet was here. This caboose had 2 sinks in it at one point.
Oh. I'm sure in its day it was pretty elegant.
For a caboose, yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing is your 2 water tanks are up here.
Uh-huh.
These are your 2 water tanks. One was for the sink, which sat here. This is where your sink was. And the other one was for the bathroom.
Oh. Yeah, let's see. I wonder what these were like to ride in. On jointed rail, probably a little rough, I would think.
Yeah, because of their size.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend that. Well, they used to have those telltales hanging from the bridge.
Yep.
That warned you of a low clearance. Otherwise, bonk.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Here's the boxcar that's there. And that patch of green was the original color?
Yes.
Looks like a...
when it was so this car was built for the P&LE Railroad as a 40-foot boxcar.
That might explain the color green there, because that was affiliated with the Penn Central at one time.
Yep.
So.
And also New York Central.
Yep. Yep.
So this car was rebuilt in the mid-1960s into a 50-foot boxcar and received that green paint scheme. It was also renumbered 25624.
Mm-hmm.
And it was sent to the Midwest for grain service. Well, in the late 70s, the ICC said, you're not using boxcars for grain service anymore. And so the P&LE was like, oh, well, what do we do now? Great. So they sold this one to the Youngstown and Southern Railroad, and it was renumbered 4236, and it ran on the YNS until the late 80s when this was brought here, and Fred Cowan used it for storage. On the inside, it is complete with shelving, lighting, and it even has a ventilation system inside.
Wow.
So we are going to be using this boxcar for storage.
Okay, and you're gonna ship that with the cabooses, or are you gonna
Yep.
leave it here? Yeah.
Oh no, we're shipping everything to Riverhead yard.
Oh, that's gonna be a big job with the trucks.
Oh God, please.
Don't do it on a day like today.
Oh no.
Don't do it, do it like in the fall or whenever, but as long as the weather is more civilized.
Hope so.
Yeah, really. And listen to those racing cars. I thought they did away with racing on Long Island, but I guess they're bringing it back slowly. Oh. All right, Jerry. Neat tour of everything. Thanks a lot.